Marcus Chen stood in the sterile conference room on the 42nd floor. His calloused hands clasped behind his back as Victoria Blackwood, CEO of Apex Racing Technologies, paced before him like a predator circling prey. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, the city sprawled beneath them, oblivious to the life about to shatter. Marcus's phone buzzed in his pocket. His daughter Emma, school. Third call today. He couldn't answer. Not now. Victoria's Louboutin heels clicked against marble with military precision. She was 38, Harvard MBA, and had transformed father's struggling race car company into a billion empire in just 5 years. She didn't tolerate deviation from protocol. Marcus had committed the unforgivable sin. He'd touched the R7 prototype, the company's flagship race car, scheduled to debut at Monaco in 3 weeks, had been sitting in the restricted engineering bay when Marcus finished his night shift in the fabrication department. He'd heard it, that subtle metallic whisper that haunted his dreams, the same sound that had killed a driver in Germany 2 years ago when a competing team's engine failed at 200 miles per hour. Marcus had spent 17 years in this building, starting as a teenager sweeping floors, working his way through community college classes at night, while raising Emma alone after his wife died. He knew every rivet, every weld, every secret these machines held. So when he heard that sound, he'd violated every rule in the book. He'd climbed into the restricted bay, ran diagnostics, and found the hairline fracture in the engine block that would have turned their driver into a fireball on international television. He'd fixed it, documented everything, left a detailed report on the chief engineer's desk. He thought he'd saved lives. Instead, he'd saved his pink slip. Do you understand what you've done? Victoria's voice could cut glass. You contaminated a secure workspace. You accessed systems above your clearance level. You touched $100 million prototype without authorization. Marcus met her gaze. The engine block had a stress fracture. It would have failed catastrophically at high RPM. I had to. You had to follow protocol, she interrupted. You had to report to your supervisor. You had to stay in your lane. Do you know how many regulations you violated? How many liability issues you've created? She slid a document across the table. Security footage shows you in that bay for 47 minutes alone. Unsupervised. Your most valuable asset. Marcus's jaw tightened. Emma, his 9-year-old daughter, waiting at school because her father couldn't leave work early for the parent-teacher conference again. The school's threatening letter about her failing grades. The medical bills from her asthma treatments piling up. The apartment lease coming due, all of it balanced on this job's paycheck. Ms. Blackwood, I've given this company 17 years. I know, I've read your file. Victoria's expression didn't soften. You're reliable, punctual, skilled, but this isn't about your past. It's about my company's future. I can't have employees who rules don't apply to them. Marcus cleared the security badge at the front desk for the last time, cardboard box tucked under his arm containing 17 years of his life. A coffee mug Emma had painted in kindergarten, a photo of them at her first science fair, his worn tool belt. The night watchman, old Raymond, wouldn't meet his eyes. Outside, rain painted the parking lot in sheets of gray. Marcus sat in his 15-year-old Honda, engine rattling, and finally checked his phone. 5 missed calls, 2 voicemails from Emma's school, 1 text from his neighbor. Emma's with me. She's okay. Call when you can. He couldn't call, not yet. Not until he figured out how to explain that Daddy lost the only job that kept them afloat. While Marcus drove through rain toward an uncertain future, Victoria returned to her office. The Monaco debut consumed her thoughts. 3 weeks to ensure perfection. The R7 would cement Apex's dominance. She opened her laptop to review the final engineering reports. Her phone rang. James Park, her chief engineer. We have a problem. 20 minutes later, Victoria stood in the engineering bay, staring at Marcus's report. James had run it through their analysis systems. Every calculation was perfect. More than perfect, it was brilliant. The fracture he identified, James said quietly, our systems missed it. It wouldn't have shown up to operational temperature at race speeds. He saved us from a catastrophic failure on live television. Victoria's stomach dropped. Who is this Marcus Chen? James pulled up personnel files. Night shift fabrication. Been here since he was 17. Wait. He scrolled deeper. This doesn't make sense. James pulled up technical schematics. Every major breakthrough we've had in the last decade. The R-Series engine innovations. The carbon fiber suspension system that won us the championship 3 years ago. The aerodynamic housing that made us untouchable. He pointed to digital signatures buried in the archived files. MC, technical consultant. We assumed it meant our external contractors. But look at the timestamps, all submitted from internal terminals. During night shifts, Victoria's hand trembled as she took the tablet. Page after page of revolutionary designs. Patent applications worth hundreds of millions, all signed MC, all originating in the fabrication department. He built them, James whispered. Marcus Chen. He didn't just build our race cars, he invented them. Everything that made this company elite came from a night shift worker we paid $43,000 a year. Victoria's mind reeled. The R7 sitting in the bay behind them. The prototype that would debut in Monaco. She pulled up its core design files. There, MC technical consultant, submitted 14 months ago. Marcus Chen had designed the very car he'd been fired for touching. Why didn't he say anything? Victoria demanded. Why not take credit? Patent rights alone would have made him wealthy. James showed her an old email buried in the system from 12 years ago. Marcus requesting a meeting with Victoria's father, the previous CEO, requesting recognition as lead designer. The response was curt. Fabrication staff do not attend design meetings. Focus on your assigned duties. Victoria spent 3 sleepless nights in the archives. The truth emerged like a ghost from the machine. Marcus Chen wasn't just an employee. He was the invisible architect of everything Apex had become. When she'd taken over from her father 5 years ago, she'd inherited a company on the brink. The R-Series had saved them. She'd taken credit in boardrooms, in press conferences, in interviews with Fortune magazine. She'd been named one of the most innovative CEOs under 40. But the innovation had come from a single father, working double shifts in the basement, submitting designs through an obsolete portal, never demanding recognition because he needed the job more than he needed glory. Emma needed him more than his ego needed satisfaction. Victoria found the email that broke her from 6 years ago. Marcus requesting a single day off for his daughter's birthday. Denied. He'd worked a double shift that day, and at 2 in the morning, from the fabrication floor, he'd submitted the revolutionary cooling system that had won them the European Championship. The timestamp was 2:47 a.m., 37 minutes before we locked out and rushed home to wake Emma with birthday pancakes. James stood in her office doorway. The Monaco debut is in 2 weeks. Every system in the R7 has his fingerprints on it. If something goes wrong, if any modification was needed, he didn't finish. They both knew. Without Marcus, they were flying blind. Victoria grabbed her coat. Where does he live? The apartment complex was in the industrial district. Paint peeling. Playground equipment rusted. Emma's bicycle chained to a railing covered in rain. Victoria climbed 3 flights of stairs that smelled like mildew and defeat. She knocked. Marcus opened the door in a t-shirt and jeans, his face gaunt. Behind him, Victoria glimpsed a modest space kept meticulously clean. Emma sat at a cards table doing homework, an oxygen nebulizer beside her. The coffee mug she'd painted sat in the dish rack. Mrs. Blackwood, Marcus's voice was flat. What do you want? Victoria's prepared speech evaporated. She'd rehearsed apologies, explanations, justifications. All of it felt obscene standing in this doorway, facing a man she'd destroyed while building an empire on his brilliance. I found the files, she said simply, all of them. Marcus's expression didn't change. Congratulations. You designed everything, every innovation every breakthrough that made Apex dominant. It was you. Emma looked up from his homework. There are 7, Victoria continued. The car debuting in Monaco. You designed it, every component, and I fired you for trying to save it. Marcus glanced at his daughter, then stepped into the hallway, closing the door behind him. I did my job, Ms. Blackwood. I did it for 17 years. I never asked for credit because credit doesn't pay for asthma medication or keep a 9-year-old fed. I just wanted to work, to provide, to be left alone. Why didn't you fight? Victoria's voice cracked. When my father dismissed you, when I took credit for your work. Marcus's laugh was bitter. Fight? With what? Lawyers I can't afford? Against a company with unlimited resources? I'm a single father with a high school diploma who learned engineering from library books and YouTube videos. I had Emma to think about. Fighting meant losing time, losing focus, maybe losing her. Victoria felt the weight of it. Every award she'd accepted, every interview where she'd discussed her innovations, every board meeting where she'd presented her vision, built on the stolen genius of a man too vulnerable to defend himself. Victoria made her choice in that dingy hallway. Come back, she said, not to persecution. As Chief Innovation Officer, full design authority, equity stake, retroactive patent rights for everything you've created, name on every design, and a salary that reflects your actual value to this company. Marcus stared at her. Why? Because it's right, because I was wrong. Because Apex doesn't deserve you, but it desperately needs you. And because in 2 weeks, the R7 launches in Monaco, and without you there, I'm terrified of what I might have missed. Marcus was silent for a long moment. I have conditions. Emma comes first, always. Flexible hours, health insurance that covers her treatments completely. And I want a formal apology, public. You tell the world that every innovation Apex has claimed came from a night shift worker you paid poverty wages. Victoria extended her hand. Done all of it. I'll make the announcement before Monaco. They shook. Behind them, Emma opened the door. Dad, is everything okay? Marcus smiled at his daughter for the first time in weeks. Yeah, baby, everything's going to be okay. Better than okay. The Monaco Grand Prix became legendary, but not for the R7's dominant performance, though it did win by 43 seconds, but for Victoria's pre-race press conference. Standing beside Marcus, Emma holding his hand, Victoria told the truth. Every word of it. The media firestorm lasted weeks. Some called her brave. Others called her foolish for admitting the deception. But the racing world noticed something else. Marcus Chen's name on the patent applications, his face in the engineering bay, his designs pushing the sport forward. 3 years later, Marcus stood in the Apex Innovation Center that bore his name. Emma, now 12 and healthy, her asthma under control thanks to better medical care, worked beside him during summer vacation, learning engineering from her father. Victoria had kept every promise. Marcus contained ATA paybacks worth hundreds of millions. His salary reflected his genius. But more importantly, he had time. Time for Emma's school events. Time for birthday pancakes. Time mentor young engineers from backgrounds like his, showing them that brilliance didn't require pedigree. The R-Series dominated racing for 5 consecutive years. Every car bore a small plate inside, designed by Chen. Victoria had learned the hardest lesson of leadership. That true vision wasn't about claiming credit. It was about recognizing brilliance wherever it existed, even in the places you'd been trained to overlook. Marcus never forgot the desperation of that rainy day when his world collapsed. It kept him humble, kept him focused on what mattered. Not the trophies or the recognition or the wealth, but the sound of Emma's laughter in the workshop, the feeling of her hand in his, the knowledge that he'd built something that couldn't be taken away. Not a race car, a life, for both of them. Together.